Good day, I'm Stephen McHugh, and this is your JIS news for Monday, August 17. Government has increased the list of countries from which non-residents, including business travelers, must obtain a COVID-19 PCR test prior to their arrival in Jamaica. This requirement was already in effect for non-Jamaican residents coming to the island from Arizona, Florida, New York, and Texas in the United States. But on Sunday, the Ministry of Health and Wellness announced its expansion to cover all non-residents 12 years and older visiting from the United States, Brazil, the Dominican Republic, and Mexico, effective August 20. A statement from the ministry says the move was necessary as these have all been designated as high-risk locations. These individuals are required to do the COVID-19 PCR test within 10 days prior to their intended date of travel to Jamaica. They will be required to upload their test certificate as part of the application process on visitjamaica.com. Notwithstanding, the ministry says upon arrival in Jamaica, all persons will be subject to health screening and risk assessment by the local health authorities. Tourists who are staying in the COVID-19 resilient corridor are required to remain on the hotel property in the corridor for the duration of their stay. Short-stay business travelers will have to remain at their intended address, whether that's a hotel or private home, and will only be allowed to leave to conduct their business meetings. In the meantime, a large shipment of testing kits is expected in the country this week to facilitate clearing of the backlog of COVID-19 samples for testing. Director of the National Laboratory Services, Dr. Michelle Hamilton, says the National Public Health Laboratory was on track to clear the outstanding samples, but a previously anticipated shipment of reagents needed for testing did not arrive.
We have been assured, and documents have been forwarded to us to indicate that we are in fact getting a large shipment of kits, and this is very good news indeed, because it means that we will have kits on hand to clear any samples remaining at the lab, as well as to deal with eventualities coming in from the field.
Dr. Hamilton was speaking at the Ministry of Health and Wellness's Digital COVID Conversations press briefing on Thursday. She said the samples to be tested are all from July. The test kits are to be used for the high-tech Cobus machine at the National Lab in Kingston. The machine allows for the testing of about 384 samples during each 8-hour shift at the lab. Meanwhile, the Electoral Office of Jamaica EOJ and the Ministry of Health and Wellness have agreed on a COVID-19 protocol for elections. Director of Elections Glasspool Brown says on the day before the September 3 election, the ECJ will screen all election day workers. For the voting public, the protocol requires that every elector must wear a mask to the polling station. Persons' hands will be sanitized before they are ushered into the different polling stations. In addition, Mr. Brown says the ink that persons will be asked to dip their fingers in is an alcohol-based ink which has certain chemical features that prevent the transmission of any infections. As an additional safety measure, voters will be asked to re-sanitize their finger before dipping in the ink. The Director of Elections says the ECJ will be continually sanitizing the polling stations throughout the course of the day. Meanwhile, Chief Medical Officer Dr. Jacqueline Bisesa-McKenzie says the Health and Wellness Ministry is trying to work out how persons and communities in quarantine may be allowed to vote on Election Day.
We are looking at the experiences of other countries, how they have handled this situation. So we are looking at some guidelines for those precautions in terms of the person that is in quarantine. We also have to look at the communities that are in quarantine to see what are the guidelines, and we have to work with the electoral office to see how communities in quarantine voting can be facilitated in terms of their safe movement.
Ground has been broken for the construction of a new state-of-the-art police post at the Ian Fleming International Airport in St. Mary. The construction is expected to cost $40 million, and funding is being provided by the Airports Authority of Jamaica. The existing police post is housed in a caravan. It will be replaced by a single-story 2,000-square-foot building with a reception area, guard room, holding cells, interview room, kitchen, and lunchroom, among other amenities.
The construction of this facility will give the officers pride and dignity while executing their duties. It will also give them what we believe is indeed due to them, a comfortable working space.
Construction is slated for completion in October. It forms part of the National Security Ministry's project Rebuild, Overhaul, Construct, ROC. The Universal Service Fund, USF, is making $45 million available for postgraduate students to access information and communications technology ICT Research Grants. The grants will be accessible to Masters and Doctors of Philosophy students. The USF will disperse the money to universities under its tertiary ICT Graduate Research Grant Program, which was recently launched at the Jamaica Pegasus Hotel in Kingston.
This program will provide the stimulus needed to take a keen look at issues within the ICT sphere and to develop practical solutions as it relates to the Jamaican space and certainly beyond our shores.
The deadline for proposals will be in October, following which a decision will be made in November on the successful applicants. And finally, 20,000 teachers have been trained to deliver virtual lessons in preparation for the new academic year in September. Acting Chief Education Officer Dr. Kassan Troop made the disclosure during a virtual webinar recently.
And so the students are not going back into unfamiliar territory. Our stakeholders are ready. We are taking care of our teachers. We have done a series of empowerment sessions for our teachers to express our appreciation for what they have done and to inspire them to continue to give back to Jamaica.
And that's it for JIS News Today. I'm Stephen McHugh. Thanks for watching.